What if I told you that a local janitor died and left behind a multi-million-dollar fortune? No, he didn't win the lottery. He didn't get some massive inheritance. All he had was a pretty modest paycheck and a system most of us are just too impatient to follow. His name was Ronald Reed, and we're going to break down exactly how he did it. Yeah, $8 million. Just let that sink in for a second. And here's the part that should really stop you in your tracks. Ronald Reed never earned much more than minimum wage. His entire life. So the question we all have to ask is pretty obvious, right? I mean, how is that even possible? Because if you've ever looked at your own paycheck and thought to yourself, there is no way I can build real wealth on this, well, Ronald Reed just proved you wrong. We're about to break down his incredibly simple system. See, Ronald Reed's story isn't just some surprising, feel-good tale. It's a roadmap. It's solid proof that building wealth has almost nothing to do with how much you earn and everything to do with the system you follow. And his was brilliantly straightforward. This is what's so fascinating. We're talking about a man who pumped gas and mopped floors. His life was, on the surface, completely ordinary. His coworkers had no clue. His neighbors, not a whisker. Even his family had no idea about his wealth. He lived this incredibly humble life, but underneath it all, he was quietly running this powerful financial machine for decades. So let's get down to the core principle here. If you've ever felt stuck in that paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, where the money comes in and then just seems to vanish, this next part is for you. Because here's the good news. You don't need more money to change this. You just need a different system. Let that really sink in. Society sells us this story that wealth is only for people with six-figure salaries. And honestly, that myth has kept more people poor than any recession ever could. The real formula for wealth is almost embarrassingly simple. This right here is the only part that really matters. It doesn't matter if your income is $2,000 a month or $20,000. What matters is the gap. That space between what you earn and what you spend. That gap, no matter how small it is the raw material you use to build your entire future. Okay, so let's get to the actionable part. How do you create this gap and then put it to work without needing superhuman discipline? You build a system. You build your very own automatic money machine that runs without you. And here's how that machine works. First, you've got to find the gap. Scrutinize every single expense and get really honest about what's truly necessary. Then you automate it. You set up a transfer for the very day your paycheck hits, sending that money straight to an investment account. And it doesn't matter if it's just $50 a month. The habit is everything. You pay yourself first, which makes that money invisible before you even get a chance to spend it. And this right here perfectly illustrates why systems just crush willpower every single time. A plan based on willpower is almost always going to fail, because if that money is just sitting in your account, your brain will find a reason to spend it. A system takes that decision completely out of your hands. It's consistent, it's reliable, and it works while you sleep. Now, we have to talk about the most powerful and, frankly, the most unforgiving variable in this whole equation: time. Your greatest wealth-building tool isn't your salary, and it isn't some hot stock pick. It's how much time you have on your side. Let's make this real. If you start investing just $200 a month at age 25 in a simple, boring S&P 500 indexed fund, that could become over $1.2 million by the time you retire. Now think about that for a second. You only put in about $96,000 of your own money. Time in the market did all the heavy lifting. But look at this. If you wait just 10 years and start that exact same plan at age 35, you end up with around $450,000. That 10-year delay just cost you over $750,000. This is the brutal, brutal math of waiting. The most important factor isn't how much you invest, it's when you start. Here is a little story that drives it home. Meet Richard and Peter. They have the same exact salary. Richard starts investing $300 a month at age 22. Peter waits until he's 32. By the time they're both 60 years old, Richard has almost $2 million. Peter, he has less than half of that. Richard wasn't smarter or luckier, he just started sooner. So look, the numbers are simple. But building wealth is also a huge psychological challenge. The system is easy to understand, but it's hard to stick with because you're fighting against social pressure and your own instincts every single day. This might be the most important takeaway of all. The winning strategy is intentionally boring. You win by buying low-cost, diversified index funds and just leaving them alone. You lose by chasing crypto hype, trying to time the market, and paying crazy high fees. The market will crash, and your instinct will be to sell. But the people who get rich are the ones who just do nothing. And this brings us to the real enemy, lifestyle inflation. Every time you get a raise, the pressure is on to upgrade your car, your apartment, your whole life. But if your spending just rises with your income, that gap disappears. You have to guard that gap. Wealth is built in that space, every single day. So let's recap the entire strategy. It's not a secret, it's a system. Find the gap between what you earn and spend, automate your investing so the decision is out of your hands. Start now because time is an ingredient money just can't buy. Invest in boring funds and leave them alone, and guard your lifestyle from inflation. That's it. That's the playbook. Ultimately, the math works. The system works. It worked for a janitor with a modest paycheck, and it can absolutely work for you. So the only question left isn't whether it works. It's whether you'll start today. Not next month, not next year. Today. Open an account, set up the transfer, even if it's just for $25. The amount matters way less than the start. Now it's your turn.